Okay, so this is a phenomenal Sicha, as usual. So we are in Parshas Shoftim this week, and in Perek Chaf, Pasuk Yutes, we have the Pasuk says as follows. I'll just read it in English. When you besiege a city for many days to wage war against it, to seize it, do not destroy its trees by swinging an axe against them. For from it you will eat, and you shall not cut it down. Is then the tree of the field a man, that it should enter the siege before you? Only a tree that you know is not a food tree. It you may destroy and cut down, and build a bulwark against the city, and makes war with you until it is conquered. Okay, so it's talking about a situation where the Jews are making a siege around their enemy to conquer it. And the Torah says, do not destroy any fruit trees. Only a tree that you know that's not going to bear fruit, such a tree you could chop down and use it to make a siege, but not a fruit tree. Okay. So here, this is where we learn the mitzvah of Baal Tashchis, not to waste, not to waste anything. A fruit tree, don't chop it down, because then you're wasting the fruit, and you could benefit from the fruit later on. So this is one of the places where we learn not to waste, recycle and all that great stuff. This could be a source for that mitzvah. Okay, but the words that we're going to focus on, in this pasuk it says, Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh. Now, in the context of the pasuk, it's in question form. Is a person a tree of the field? Is a person like the tree of the field? I'm sorry, it doesn't say like. Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh. Is a person a tree of the field? That is those are the words of the pasuk, and we're gonna have a whole teaching about Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh. And we're gonna say that a person, what we're gonna learn today is that a person is a tree of the field, and how that is, that's our topic for today. So, we'll start with the Gemara. The Gemara asks a question based on this verse and says, "Is a person a tree of the field?" Now, we know that we have similar characteristics to trees. Who wants to share? What's a similar characteristic that a person has to a tree? Growing, amazing. Bottom up. Seeds, roots.
Right, comes like a family,
A family tree, the fruit, right? So there's a lot of similarities between. Okay, so why a tree? So no, we should. Yeah, no, questions are amazing. Why a tree of the field? We're going to discuss that. So the first thing we wanna zoom in onto is, are we compared to a tree, or are we a tree? Because there are many other sources and places where it's, where you have the word, when you have the letter chaf, it means like, ki, in Tehillim.
It's not like because also.
It could be because, and it also could be similar. We could be compared to a tree. There are many different verses that you have a ki, and it's saying that we are like, similar to a tree, or in many different places. But here, what's unique about this pasuk is it's not saying we are like a tree. It says Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh. A person is a tree. A person is a tree, and therefore, when you're going to conquer if you're going to conquer your enemy, don't cut down a tree, a fruit-bearing tree. Thank you. Don't cut down a fruit-bearing tree, because the fruit, you shouldn't kill people you shouldn't just go and kill people that are innocent civilians. So too, you shouldn't just cut down a fruit-bearing tree, because a tree is like a person. If that person didn't harm you, you shouldn't be killing them. You shouldn't be chopping it. You shouldn't be chopping it down. So the Gemara asks and says, is a person a tree? Like literally, not a comparison, but rather a person is a tree. And it asks, is a person a tree? That's what the Gemara asks. So when I ask a question, if I'm asking, if the Gemara asks, is a person a tree, it implies that a person is a tree. If I say, is this your phone? I'm only asking you, is this your phone? If I think it's your phone. If it's just similar to your phone, and I know that it's not your phone, it's just similar to your phone, then I'm not going to ask the question. I want to be, I want to be polite. Oh, is this your phone? You're about to leave. I don't want you to leave your phone here. Is this your phone? Because I think that it is your phone. So from the fact that the Gemara asks this question and says, is a person a tree? It automatically tells us that a person is a tree. And we're going to see what that means and how that is. But it's not so clear in the beginning, because the Gemara asks, is a person a tree? And then says, and then goes on and explains as follows. He says, a person, a Talmid Chacham, who behaves properly, from him, such a person, you should not cut that person down. You should not harm him. You should learn from him. And a Talmid Chacham, someone who studies, but is not hagun, is not proper, doesn't behave properly, such a person, you should stay away from him, cut him out of your life, and don't learn from him. That's what the Gemara says. So that doesn't really answer the question. Our question is, Kia Adam Sadeh, is a person a tree? So answer me, how is a person a tree versus being compared to a tree? That's question number one. What is the difference between comparing one thing to another, and something being that thing? What's the difference between? So it's the same difference between a comparison, an analogy, versus a mirror. What's the difference? What's the difference between comparing two things, comparing an apple and an orange, versus looking at yourself in the mirror? What's the difference?
One has one is exactly.
Right. So if I'm comparing two things, they're not identical. There are some qualities that are shared, versus looking into the mirror, it's the whole person, it's the whole thing. It's not like, oh, in this area, there's a similarity, or in these areas, there's a similarity, which is just a part of which is just a part, versus looking into the mirror encompasses the entire person. Okay. So that's what we're trying to, this is what we're trying to figure out. Are we compared to a tree, or are we a tree? And what does it mean to be a tree? If we're a tree, then it means that it can't just be a part of, it can't just represent, a similarity, a small insignificant similarity here or there, but rather it has to, if I am a tree, then there has to be something greater or bigger or unique that totally encompasses the person. Another question, okay, so the first question that we have is, how is the Gemara answering the question? The Gemara asks, is a person a tree? And then it's going to talk about a specific detail with regards to learning from an individual. If the individual If the Talmid Chacham behaves properly and is like a fruit-bearing tree, then you should learn from him and connect to him and don't harm him. But if the person is not like a fruit-bearing tree, then you could cut it down, meaning cut it out of your life, don't have to learn from him. So that is just that's a comparison of one detail with regards to learn from someone. But if I'm saying that I am a tree, it has to be something much more encompassing than just a detail.
Then also the tree that you're talking about comparing, it has fruit that feeds us, but also it's like babies coming out of this big majestic tree. If you think about that, right? Like it gives us food. We give food of enlightenment to our children. We take care of them. Like the tree is trying to survive in the middle of, like you said, a field. And it's interesting because I painted a painting and everybody asked me, what are you doing? Trees don't have faces and they are not arms. But I felt,
Wow.
and my kids said, that doesn't make sense, man.
Oh, you're gonna see how it makes sense.
It's the one you put that kind of faces in arms. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna see how that all is true. Okay, so you're bringing a very interesting point about a tree, because a tree gives fruit, but human beings have babies, animals have babies, fish have babies, but the tree is unique is unique because yes, humans have babies and animals have babies, but when we have babies, then we mostly benefit from our children. Other people could also benefit, but the primary nachas, the primary benefit is to the parents. With regards to a tree, the fruit is not just for the tree. As a matter of fact, exactly. It doesn't take any, it's primarily there for others. It's not there for itself. The fruit from the fruit, okay, the tree could multiply and more trees will be planted. So you need this, you get seeds from fruit, but you just, from one apple, you could have another whole tree, but most of the apples are sheared, the purpose is for others, which is a very unique trait that trees have, that the fruit is not just is not at all or very little for itself, it's primarily for others. That's a very interesting point.
That's what the comparison is. That's what the narrative is. Some of us have to learn from the tree.
Yes, we have to learn from the tree, but there's something even greater than learning from the tree. And that is that when you look at a tree, when you're looking at a tree, once you understand, once we learn what a tree represents, when you look at a tree, you are looking at a human being. It's basically a mirror of a human being. More than just a comparison, because a comparison doesn't encapsulate the entire being. It takes details. When I'm comparing details. But when I'm talking about when I say Kia Adam Sada, it's more than just a comparison of details, but rather you will never look at a tree in this. You'll look from now on, when you see a tree, it will automatically remind you about your purpose, about your mission, about what you need to do. The tree represents the person, not just compared to the person, but it actually represents a person, and we're going to see how. Okay, so the second question that we want to ask, the first question is, how come the Gemara doesn't seemingly answer the question, is a person a tree? Answer how a person is a tree. It doesn't tell us, it doesn't directly tell us how a person is a tree and not compared to a tree. Just seemingly taking a detail with regards to learning from people. And the second major question that we have is, why are you comparing or saying or stating that a person is a tree when seemingly that's a downgrade? There are four there are four, if you look at the universe, there are four classifications. Everything on this earth can be classified into one of four categories. Or if you want one of four categories or five categories, if you want to consider a Jew as a separate category. The first category is domem. Domem is a rock, something that's inanimate, can't move, can't grow. The higher level is things that grow, plant life, things that grow. Things that grow, yes, you know, that's a higher level. It's a higher level than a rock, but it's stationary. It's growing, but it's growing in its place. It can't like walk around, travel for hundreds of miles and come back. It's stuck where it is. It's glued to its spot. An animal is even more free. It could roam around, and even fish, they could migrate from one place to another. Even fish, some fish could go from fresh water to salty water. You could go from a lake to a river to an ocean. There's a lot of movement. And then you have a person. A person is the highest level. A person, not only could they move, but they could also communicate and speak, which is the we're like the crown of creation. And then Jews are on a higher even level than regular human beings, and we're on our own level. But it's four main levels. So if you're taking a human being and you're saying a person is a tree, hey, what are you doing? A person is so much greater than a tree. We're level number 4. Why are you comparing us to level number 2? You want, and in that, why are you saying that we are level number 2? What does that mean? You want to compare and say, okay, certain traits, fine. But to say you're a tree, I mean, that's very limiting. And if you're saying that we're a tree, say that we're an animal. An animal, there's a lot of comparisons between a person and an animal. An animal can roam around freely like we can roam around freely. But the whole point is that there's 4 levels and that we're higher than that. So why go backwards, downgrade us and say, oh, you are a tree, when a tree is seemingly so much more limited to the power of a human being. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare and contrast many different things, and then we're gonna look at one chart where we're gonna try to combine everything together and come to a wonderful lesson. Okay. So the first thing that we want to compare a tree. Okay, we want to compare, and although we're saying that it's not just a comparison, it's more than a comparison, but we're going to start off, let's compare a tree to a human being. Okay, the most amazing thing about a tree, and this is what I wrote to Kara in that poem yesterday. Kara asked, she's going on a Zoom, to speak to parents and to for the colleges to promote that the Jewish kids on campus should be safe and to fight against anti-Semitism. And this was an unbelievable lesson that only because I started to prepare for this class was I able to give you that answer. And that is that a tree does not hide, does not conceal its source of life. When you see a tree, it's very, very clear where its source of life is coming from, and that's the ground. No one could argue that. It does not conceal its source of life. And if we're compared to a tree, when we are connected, when the world can see that we are connected to our source of life, which is Hashem, then they're doomed. I mean, this is our strength. This is our strength, because sometimes we might feel, or it might seem that we're disconnected, because you see a human being walking around. The human being walking around is not connected with an umbilical cord to its mother that gave birth to it, right? The umbilical cord is long gone. So you don't see, when a human being is walking around, you don't see in a clear way its source of life, the connection to its source of life. But a tree doesn't conceal its source of life. That's number one. Number two, it not only is it connected to its source of life, but it's always connected to its source of life. Never takes a break. You know, a Jew could say, listen, I'll go to shul, I'll daven, right? And then I'll see you, God, I'll see you in shul in a few hours for mincha. You know, I'll take a break, you know, a lunch break. There's no breaks. The second you cut if you sever the tree from its source of life, that's it. The tree is dead. You can't glue it back together. It's constantly connected to its source of life. While a human can roam around and it can travel hundreds, thousands of miles around, and we're not glued to our bread, to our water, we could get our nourishment from many different places, from many different restaurants or stores, or, there's many different options. We're not glued to or constantly connected to our source of life, at least on the outside. And also, like, one more point is that this tree always gets its nourishment from this particular piece of soil. It's not that one day it's from here and one day it's from there. It's always connected. It's rooted in a certain spot. It's always connected to its source, to where to the place where it was born. It's always connected to that source, and no breaks. It's constant, and it's always getting its nutrients from its original point of origin. Okay, so that's great. And however, there might be something greater. What's seemingly greater than a tree connected to its roots, connected to its source of life constantly? What else has to always be connected to its source in order to live? Okay, before we get to a Jewish person, a fish. Now, a fish, you could say, is even greater than a plant. Why? Why?
The source is the water.
Not only is it
water,
right, the second the fish goes out of water, it's dead, absolutely. But not just that it's connected, in one direction to its source. The fish has to be completely surrounded by water all around, top, bottom, right, left, every direction. So maybe the fish is even greater than a tree being connected, being connected to its roots. So this is an incredible thing about a tree. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to be a fish and to constantly realize that our life force is Hashem and Torah, and that if we step away from Torah, then we're not alive, absolutely. But we're not all on that level. We're not all on that level of being a fish that knows that it has to have Torah constantly in order to be alive. The interesting thing about a tree is that it's connected to its source of life, but at the same time, it doesn't stay only in its source of life, but it emerges, it comes out. It emerges from its source of life while it's still linked to the ground.
You're saying even though it's solidly one place, it has an opportunity of many changes involved throughout the lifespan. So through years.
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah. But we have to make you see.
As though it's steady. You said it has a source to the ground, and that's where it's linked. It's anchored to. at the same time, it holds the same wall of being going in very different directions. That's what I believe.
Yeah, so it's a mila, the advantage of a what's the advantage of a tree over a fish? What's the advantage of a tree over a fish? You would think the fish has a greater advantage over the tree. So what's it? So explain, what's the advantage of a tree?
I'm looking at it like everything across the board, because you're talking about the steady of the anchor, the ground and soil, that you need for life and living and all that. And I'm looking at the way it grows through the lifespan is forever changing, or solid, forever changing. Repairs, repentance, whatever it is, you can have, I'm thinking of a tree that has like, you can revive a tree, if you give it certain medicine or certain soil, so it's forever changing and forever less.
It's forever growing. It's forever growing.
I see that as constant and
Yeah.
change and.
It's constantly.
Rebirth and
It's
death and rebirth.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's constantly growing, but we're going to talk about change. It's not so much changing. For example, when it comes, there's 4 seasons.
Oh,
The reason, why is it a tree of a field and not just anything that grows? Because there are a lot of things that grow that don't survive all the seasons. A tree does survive all 4 seasons. It may not give fruit all 4 seasons, but a tree can weather any storm. It could weather the season. So something about a tree is that it grows, but it's not affected by the things around it. It's not affected. Its existence is greater than its surroundings, the seasons, but it is constantly growing. But the chiddush, the incredible thing, why is a tree? What's the advantage of a tree over a fish? A fish is like a person who's studying Torah a whole day, but doesn't go out to help anybody else. It can't. It could only be alive as long as it's in the water. A tree is connected to its source, but at the same time, it could go out into the world and grow fruit and help other people and have an impact. The oxygen that we breathe comes from the tree. It can give so much by growing out of the ground, not just staying as a seed. Sure.
And it grows only to the size of the tank that it's in. So when somebody's learning Torah, they're only learning Torah, they're only growing in that limited growth of Torah within their little baladams. But when you let that tree grow outside, how much more that person who knows all that Torah is choosing to grow outside of the ground, he's getting so much more, that goldfish can grow so much more. So don't limit yourself to a fish tank.
Yeah, don't limit yourself to a fish tank. Exactly. The fish, yes, the fish knows it. The fish knows that it needs the water to live. It has that consciousness, but it's very limited. It can't go out of the water. While a tree could emerge from its source and still be connected to it. It doesn't have. It's not. It's.
Now what happens if you cut off the tree and line it up? Chip.
That's it.
Tree.
If you cut off the tree, then it's dead. That's it.
It's
Is
dead.
there any way to provide that tree, maybe? Yeah. What?
If you take from the roots, if you dig and you take from the roots.
You have to replant it. You have to replant it. What you could.
Is there spot, is there?
You
is there
could,
potential?
if you could take a tree, okay, you could take a tree and uproot it and plant it somewhere else. That is,
It has to be planted, otherwise it's dead.
it has to be connected to its source. Once you take a flower and you cut it and you put it in a vase, it's very beautiful, but it's gonna die. You can't glue it back. You can't glue it back. Eitz chaim in machazikim ba. We have to hold on to Torah. There's no choice.
But at the same time, he's saying if the root is still on the ground, the tree can literally regrow
Yes.
just from a single root. You've seen a
Yes.
single branch. So it doesn't mean that you're cut off. If somebody's cut off temporarily, it's temporary, because the root, the temporary need is, it's always there.
As long as the roots are still there, absolutely.
That's why, you know, one time my son told me, I got something in the backyard with a piece of the seed. Never use any of it, and take a tree from.
Like a fruit tree.
Yeah.
Cut it off, because we wanted, it was bothering some, so I said, no, you cannot do that, okay?
Unless if it's in the way, or if you're,
I have an example of me, my apartment was covered by this apple tree, green little apple tree. I didn't know that it had apple trees, but it was covering me and I moved it. I said, I can't stand it, they're not cutting it. I asked somebody, I'm just going to do it myself. And I cut a few of the branches that were over my,
yeah.
and then when I
Good trim.
realized that it was an apple tree, I felt horrible because I saw that part of the tree was kind of like dying.
Oh.
That's when I got the inspiration to paint that, because I felt so bad that I'm cutting life, I felt.
Yeah.
So we are life, I said, so we could be like a tree. That's my.
Wow,
thinking.
amazing. That's all true, 100%.
I felt terrible about it and.
Okay. So the same thing, the difference between a tree and a fish is that a tree, like we said before, has a particular root system where it gets its nutrition, while the fish could get its nutrition from many different places. Okay. Okay, and another comparison. Let's look at, we already discussed a little bit, but just to be thorough, the difference between a tree and other plants. And we said that other plants do not survive through all the seasons. Some completely lose their existence and have to be replanted, or some things, rejuvenate every summer, every spring. They have their season and then they die, versus a tree could survive all various seasons. And it proves the fact that this tree could survive all the 4 seasons, it proves how connected it is to its source of life. And because it's so connected, therefore, its source of life gives it such resilience not to be affected by the change and to stay its course. Okay.
When it gets frozen solid and the tree doesn't crack off, that means that inside it's still warm.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that means that
Very rare then.
circulation is very important.
From that's a Tu B'Shvat is a new year for the trees. The trees look frozen, but yet the sap is being produced.
So it's random for trees, you're always in awe of that
Yeah.
seal.
The fact that we celebrate Tu B'Shvat, the new year for the trees, and we don't say Tachanun, and we have to eat specific fruit, all that is proof that we are a tree. If we were just compared to a tree, we wouldn't be celebrating Tu B'Shvat like we do, in the way that we do. It's a holiday for us. We're celebrating. We're going to see what we're celebrating. We're celebrating. We're celebrating ourselves. It's a celebration for us because we are a tree, and we're going to see how that is momentarily. Okay, sure.
When Shia comes, are trees gonna take on a different life force than what we already have right now?
I don't know.
Very common.
Oh, the bark will have taste. They do say that.
Mhm.
They do say that. They do say that the bark will have a taste, not just the fruit. That is true.
And is a tree compared to a person in physical, like the roots are our feet and the trunk is our core, but. And the head is.
So yeah, so we always knew that. Obviously a tree has roots, and we have our roots, our forefathers, our mothers, our ancestors. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of comparisons, and the fruit are the mitzvahs and the good deeds that we do. That we always, up until this point, we always knew that we're similar to a tree, that we're compared to a tree. But now we're gonna learn, and you said it. You said the bark of the tree is the core. And that's what we're going to learn today. Those are the exact words. You hit the nail on the head. Those are the exact words that explain to us why we are a tree. Because there's something about the tree that there's something about the tree that the bark of the tree is basically the core, and it's going to help us understand what our core is. Okay. So before I go there, I'm just going to more comparisons. What is a comparison between the plant kingdom, things that grow, and our personal character? So we already mentioned this. We said that plants and trees, they grow. They grow from small, and then they grow bigger and bigger, and they get more mature. The same thing is with our personal character. We start off immature. A child can get angry that their brother got 2 scoops of ice cream and they got only 1. That's, immature. And then you grow up, and when you're 30 years old, you don't get angry if someone got an extra scoop of ice cream than you. Obviously, your midas, okay, your character matures. Okay. So here, I'm just gonna go straight into it. Why is a person a tree? Because a person is a microcosm of the world. So if in the world we have inanimate, plant life, animal, and a human, in ourselves, we have daimim tzemeach and chai medaber within ourselves. And what is the tzemeach? What is the plant? What is this plant kingdom inside of ourselves? That is our midas, our character traits. And what's incredible about our midas is, so basically, our midas are the tree within us. And just like a tree is connected to its source in a very revealed way, our midas are connected to our core, to the essence of our neshama. And therefore, when you're looking for a shidduch for your child or for yourself, what is the most important thing to look for?
Midot.
Who is the person?
The family, right? Where you originated from, or house, the roots.
The most important thing
Midot.
is their character, because their character is rooted in is anchored in their essence. This is the brand new thing that we're learning today. We're learning the power of midas and why midas are so important and why our avodah is to refine our midas. That is why we're here.
Because by plant, in the animal soul, it's like a no-brainer.
Right, I also had that question.
So, and it's brainer. We had someone over for galaxy picture, and he was asking like in dating which I look like. And I was like, you go, okay, that's meeting. There's more. It's not only, well, yeah, it should be.
Right. So in Tanya, we learned about midas, and we said there are 3 midas: the fact that we're rachmanim, baishanim, and goyim lechasadim. That we have rachmanus, and that we're bashful, and that we're kind. And we said that those midas come from our animal soul, which means that it's natural for us to have certain good qualities, and they come from the animal soul. Now, all that is true. Our midas are okay. So we're going to learn more about where our midas are coming from in a second. But our midas are natural.
We didn't have to work on it.
That means that yes, we have to work on them. We have to take yes, we have midas that we're born with that are natural to us. However, when we start our avodah, they're immature. Our avodah is to take these midas that we were born with, our character that we were born with, and to take them from a place of immaturity to a place of maturity. So everything that we said in Tanya still stands. Our avodah is to refine our midas. Yes, we all have midas. We're all born with midas. The incredible thing that is new that we're learning that's new is that our midas are who we are, and we're gonna explain that more and more. We're gonna delve more and more into that. If you want to know who a person is, don't judge them by how much seichel, by how much knowledge they have. But if you want to know who a person is, you have to look at their midas, which translates into their behavior. It's their character, which is supposed to influence their behavior. That is the number one thing that we're looking for. And why is that? Because your midas are a representation of the core of your soul. Just like a tree is rooted in the ground, that's its life force, our midas are attached to our etzem hanefesh, to the essence of our soul. Sometimes in life, we're so busy trying to be like everybody else that maybe we're not true to the deepest part of our soul. We're so worried about what someone else is going to say or think that we're not being true to ourselves. We're busy trying to make someone else happy or to I don't know, impress someone else. I don't know. We're so busy living for everybody else, and we're not in touch with our own feelings and with ourselves to know that our feelings, that is who we are. If you feel deeply about something, it's not something to say, it's not something to shove under the carpet. It's coming from the deepest, it's coming from your deepest core. And I don't think we take the time to I don't think we're fair to ourselves to truly understand that when we feel passionately about something, it's not something that we should just shut down. But it's coming from the deepest, it's coming from the essence of our neshama. And are we giving it any daylight, or are we busy running a marathon of being like everyone else and pleasing everyone else? If I'm asking myself the same question.
So a tree doesn't have any trunk, the person does.
A tree is connected to its life force, and our midas are connected to our life force, which is our neshama.
Well, wouldn't you say every living plant or animal has a spark, has a piece of a neshama in it?
Everything has a spark, otherwise it wouldn't be able to exist. Everything has to have a spark, absolutely. But I think it's a novel thing that we're not just compared to a tree. We are a tree. The main part of the tree, the bark of the tree, that is a representation of the midas, of the character. How you describe the tree, how many rings does it have inside? How the shape of it, the bark of the tree. You said the bark of the tree is the core of the tree.
And they're all different too. The way
Each one is different. Right. But these characteristics, where do they come from? In a tree, you see that it comes from the roots, according to the nutrients, according to the roots. That's how the bark of the tree grows. So our midas are rooted in and connected to and dependent on our deepest core.
Which is also, which is also, that root comes from our ancestors and fathers, right?
Yes, 100%.
Depending on the family tree of each one.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that. We're going to talk about the difference between inheriting something and a business transaction. If I have a business transaction, so what is being transferred from one person to the other? Something, money, something, object, external thing. When a person inherits something, they're inheriting something from the core of their ancestor, of their father, of their grandfather. An inheritance is not just passing, it's not just passing on things, but when you inherit something, you inherit the person's core. Who are our roots? Our roots is Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And they were very, very smart and had tons of intellect. But when we inherit from them, we're constantly connected to them. And what we inherit from them is not their brilliance, but what we get from them, what's passed down from their core to our core. Their core was their midas, and their core is transmitted to us. Avram's core was chesed. Yitzchak's core was gevura. Chesed is the ability to love. Gevura is the ability to fear or awe. And Yaakov, his core was tiferet, which is a blend of chesed and gevura. It's the ability to have pity, rachmanus. These are inherited qualities that we get from our avos, and we're constantly connected to our roots, which are avos. And what do we inherit? We inherit their midas, because the midas is connected to the core and is transmitted as an inheritance from one core to the next core. And that's why you say when you're looking for a shidduch, you want to look at the family. Why are you looking at family? Because if the parents have good midas, there's a good chance that the kids have it too, because the midas are transmitted from parent to child. Because why? Because it's their core. And when they create a child, it's coming from their core. So it's the same ingredients. It's the same, that's you're creating a child from your core. So you have to give them your core.
No, it's very interesting. Abraham had chesed, but he gave his chesed to Yitzchak, right? Yitzchak now has chesed and gevura. So Yaakov gets chesed, gevura, and tiferet. So now our generation has so much. We're so much richer than our previous generations because we inherited everything.
Yeah.
And all our previous, the ancestors worked on, so we got all of that.
Yes, and each one had their kav, had their way. They paved, they had to pave their way, and they were chesed is chesed. All the chesed gevura and tiferet within them are all the midas, and they had to develop each one. And yes, we inherit all of them, and how lucky we are. But chesed is, kindness from above. Avram was so giving to other people; they didn't have to do anything. He just gave. While you have Yitzchak, we see in Yitzchak in the Torah that he had to he dug a lot of wells. It's the other way. Gevura is our effort. It's come from below to above. Each one had to do their, had to pave their road or create that channel for us. Absolutely.
Excuse me. So you say Elokai Abraham and Elokai Yitzchak and Elokai Yaakov. So that it's like it's a whole entity unto itself. Like Hashem is Lord's over them, and we have three different aspects of
I brought this with the apples when we got them. I always wondered about that. Yeah, why do you say it like, I, my God, and the God of my fathers? And I couldn't find the answer. Yeah. Why is it always God and God of my fathers?
That's my chain, that is the connection.
Yes.
That's what we base our relationship on.
Why are you separating it?
We constantly have to remember our roots. We can't, our ancestors are our roots. We have to always, we have to be connected. We have to be connected to our, you know,
I'm
when,
not on my own right, because I'm.
yeah, and everything that we do, it's
things with Kosava, it's like.
it's chosavos, very good. And everything that we do, it's like a chain. It's a chain. When a 3-year-old girl starts lighting Shabbos candles, she is connected to Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. All the generations, all in every single place. It's not just a random person or doing a random act. We're midgets standing on shoulders of giants. It's our avodah is completing the avodah of all the generations before us. The fact that we're here, you know, my daughter Mushka, by her bas mitzvah. So I wrote a song and I included all the bubbies, you know, and it went back into the ancestors. If not for the Mesiras Nefesh of our grandmothers, great grandmothers, we would not be here today. We would not be from Yidden here today, sitting at this table, if not for the Mesiras Nefesh and true Mesiras Nefesh of our grandmothers and our great grandmothers.
I have one question. I remember when my son was studying to do the bar mitzvah, I was there and I listened. I don't have much knowledge about anything, but one thing stuck with me. What does it mean to be Jewish? It means we belong to all a family.
Yes.
Is a family. That's what it means. From the beginning till now, we're all connected.
Absolutely.
And that was amazing to hear.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and the reason is, you see, other nations came and went, but the Jewish people, because like we learned in Tanya, that we're not just a creation, but we're part of the Creator. We're here. No one could ever, you know, they try. Our enemies try to cut us down. They try to uproot us. They try to cut us off. But they don't realize that as much as they try to bury us under the ground, because we're a tree, we're always going to come back up because we're connected to our Creator, and therefore no one could ever destroy us. So yes, we're a family. We could trace our, you know, we're family all the way back up because there was never a stop, because there was never an end, because we are Hashem's children. We are the chosen people. Absolutely. Okay. Another thing that I want to make a comparison of is Seichel and Midas. Seichel is our intellect, our knowledge, and Midas is our character. This is a very important difference, okay? Seichel is like an animal that can travel, or like a human being or an animal that can travel from place to place. Our intellect, our mind can go in every single direction. We could think about this, we could think about that. And also, you know, you have Aristotle, the man, and Aristotle, the teacher. You know, Aristotle, he was teaching and, you know, all of his philosophy. And then his student said to him, how come you're not acting the way that the way that you teach? So he says, oh, there's Aristotle, the teacher, and then there's Aristotle, the man, two separate things. I could learn something and understand it and agree with it and grasp it, but it doesn't necessarily mandate that I'm going to behave in a certain way. I could know the right thing. I could learn. I could be brilliant. And then when it comes to action, there's no connection. I could think one thing, I could do something else.
Knowledge doesn't translate into action.
Knowledge doesn't translate into action necessarily. And if I think I could think or believe one thing, and then I could have a discussion with someone else, and they could change my opinion. And then all of a sudden, the next day, I could be thinking, you could convince me something else. Or even if I'm convinced of my opinion, I could still understand and appreciate your opinion, even though it's different than my opinion. So Seichel when it comes to learning, when it comes to understanding, when it comes to grasping knowledge, knowledge is like an animal. It could go in any direction, and it's not limited. It's not limited to a certain piece of soil. It's whatever you want. It's all out there, and it doesn't necessarily, and it's further away from the essence of your soul. You have the essence of your soul. You have the essence of your soul, and the midas are plugged into that. Now, the knowledge is not plugged in to the essence of your soul, and it's further removed, and therefore it has a chemaila, has a chasaron. Therefore, it doesn't define. It doesn't define the human being, however smart you are. There's no guarantee. If it's all about if it's all about how much you learn, how much you know, there's no guarantee that it's gonna keep you on the right path, because it can change. It can change. It's the seichel that could change. While midas, that's your nature. That's your nature, and nature is very, very hard to change. Yes, you have to refine it. Yes, you have to use it to serve Hashem. But to change a person's nature is very, very difficult. It's like uprooting a tree and planting it somewhere else. It's possible, but it takes a lot of sweat and a lot of work. So our character, that's our nature, and that is much more limited. If I'm a chesed kind of person, to get a chesed kind of person, all of a sudden to be a gvura kind of person, is very difficult. Chesed could grow in the chesed path. I could mature in the chesed path. I could use my chesed to serve Hashem, use my chesed in the right way. But to change from chesed to gvur, to change from kindness to severity, from love to fear, you can't just flip, snap your fingers and then boom, it's something else. Like I could switch with knowledge. So that's the difference between seichel and midas. Seichel, yes, it's a lot more free. It's not bound to a particular, to a particular nature. And it could travel. 1 minute I could think about this, the next minute I could think about that. It's not grounded and rooted in a certain spot. While midas, they are natural. They're much harder to change. They grow in one direction. They grow up. But it's not like it could, it doesn't have the freedom that seichel does, but it's much more rooted. And therefore, if you work on your midas, that is a guarantee that you're going to stay in the right path, because midas are connected to it's who you are. It's who you are. Okay, so it's more rigid and more limited, but there's much more of a guarantee, while seichel is much more flexible, much more free, and it can accommodate many different perspectives, but there's no guarantee if your relationship with Hashem is just based on intellect alone.
Person is, let's say, the main midah is basic. That means it's almost impossible to become more good.
So our job is to refine our midas and to use chesed in the right way, right? Like you can't, just because you're chesed, you can't give a person you can't give a child a knife just because you're chesed,
I think then knowing that you're quote unquote too kind gives you the ability to be able to say no in the future, because you're more aware that you're always saying yes. It's not discouraging, it's awareness.
No, just the whole, like, let's say you were saying someone comes from a family or whatever,
You still have
that,
freedom of choice to grow from it. Yeah, this is cool, but you're not limited into that. You can grow.
Also, chances are someone comes from a family where it seems like maybe their behavior is not they still have core essence of good midas. They maybe not, they're not honing in on their midas in an appropriate way, but the core essence of the family is, there are good midas within it. Maybe there's certain children, now maybe the behavior is not reflecting that.
All forms are the limits, but-
The core essence has the limit.
We're going to.
Right.
We learn from other people around us, and, right, like, all born, but then our surroundings.
Yeah, so I'm saying our meters have to be developed properly.
Right, so then we have to learn and understand, gee, that kind of stuff.
You're just saying the whole core idea sounds.
Yeah.
What's,
I'll answer that, yeah.
Exactly, the
Yeah.
searching to the.
I get where she's going,
Yeah.
like it's like the faction piece, it's like.
hard, what is it?
You know,
It's a challenge.
So- Yeah. Yeah, so but I'm saying instead of fighting it, if a person doesn't have discipline or whatever it is, instead of fighting it, try to embrace it and figure out how to use it for Hashem. It's not a mistake that this is your nature, because ultimately what you're learning is a person is a tree. Who is the person? A person is their midas. You want to know who a person is? Look at their midas. Now that I know that midas are so important, this is my whole mission on this earth, is to refine my midas. And all the learning that I do is all for the purpose of refining my midas. When Mashiach comes, the Avodah will be different. But now the Avodah is to work on our midas, and that is how we define ourselves, and that is how you know who a person is, through their midas. And therefore, it's not something that we should overlook. We have to realize the significance and the importance and the power that midas have, that really does show who you are. That's what midas. That's what this teaching is teaching us. And now to tie it all in, to go back to the original question that we had, when the Gemara says, "Is a person a tree?" And then he says, if a Talmud Chacham behaves properly, then you should learn from him. If a Talmud Chacham has good midas, he's saying, yes, a person is a tree. If a person is a Talmud Chacham and has good midas, then don't cut him down. Bring him in your life. Learn from him. Why? Because the midas, the behavior, that is the person. A person is a tree. And if the Talmud Chacham just sits and learns a whole day, but does not translate into his behavior, then don't learn from him. Cut yourself off from him. Stay away from him. It's all about the midas. So yes, the Gemara did answer the question. When the Gemara says, is a person a tree? Yes, a person is a tree. If the Talmud Chacham has good behavior, that's your measuring stick. That's how you know if you should learn from him and listen to him. It's not just how much knowledge he has, because knowledge can change. Knowledge is subject to change. But your midas, that is your essence. It's a incredible teaching. And knowing that a person is a tree, it's not a downgrade saying that we're a tree. It's actually a mirror. Just like the tree is a mirror to the person. The tree represents our midas, and our midas is who we are. Our midas is who we are. And the midas are one with us, just like the tree is one with its source.
Can I ask a question? When you say midos, is it like 10 spheres that midos up?
Chesed, Gvura, Teferes, Netzach, Chod, Yesod, Malchus.
But is that source in the animal cell or the godly cell?
So there's two sets.
There's two sets. So we find either.
Who's in the driver's seat?
The person is from the animal, when we work on who we are, and we bring it into, then we're revealing the godly part of that midos.
So if I use my, okay, so a person has kindness, let's say, okay, it's rooted in their soul.
It's rooted in their both animal and godly.
So there are good midas and there's bad midas. What we were saying in Tanya, so there are Achmanim by Shalom, I think it's different than the Chesed, Gvura, and Teferes that we're talking about, that we inherit from Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. But yes, the animal soul and the godly soul each have 10 powers. And the question is who's sitting in the driver's seat? And kindness could be used for service of Hashem. Kindness could be used for selfish things. Kindness could be, oh, we have to be so kind to what about all the guys and the children, that are suffering. Okay, well, that's, where's your kindness? I thought Jews are so kind. But it comes a point where a person has to yes, use your seichel and the kind, whenever Hashem has to be in the picture. Hashem has to be in the picture. If I'm being kind just so that I should get a plaque on the wall for my gaiva, then that's not holy kindness. Is God in the picture? If God is there, then the kindness is good. If it's about me and it's selfish and God is not there, then the kindness is not coming from the godly soul. And another measuring stick is effort. If there's effort, you could be sure it's coming from the godly soul. If there's no effort and it's just natural and it's just what I'm born with and it's just easy pie, then it's effort and it's Hashem. Those are your two measuring sticks to know we're this kindness. Who's sitting in the driver's seat right now? Is it my animal soul's kindness or is it my godly soul's kindness that's operating at this moment?
Ask yourself honestly, is this bringing you closer to Hashem or is this just from Hashem?
Yes. Yeah. Is this bringing me close to Hashem or is this distancing me from Hashem? Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. No.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Absolutely. I think so. I saw in the bar mitzvah.
It's not a bad thing, but it's not.
No.
It's not a bad place, but it's not natural. Not when you work.
It's very hard to change someone. Or do I have to change ourselves? But there is effort. Okay. Your kids are home from camp. And you could have said, listen, my kids are home from camp. I have to make arrangements for where they're going to be during the class. No, but
For me, cooking is really effortless. Hashem gave me a gift. I don't actually.
We appreciate it.
Thank you. No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So because it doesn't take effort, it's really, it may not be coming from a good place.
it's effort. It's effort. Don't kid yourself. It's
not. It's a gift Hashem gave me.
So it's good,
Not in a bad place, but it's,
You're using it to serve Hashem.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not right. You turn it into good, but the source is like it's the animal soul is the middle of that, but it's not a bad. I think the source of it is now, but I'm using it. Absolutely.
The person likes to cook, right?
It's not just that, it's not. It's even putting it naturally. You put it in maybe not the effort, but it's using it
For Hashem, yes.
Yes.
I'm saying you could cook.
Doesn't have to be both. Doesn't have to be effort. Something that's natural to them.
Yeah.
They take that natural thing.
So that's exactly what it means to work on your.
Absolutely. It could be one or the other, doesn't it?
Yes. And that's what it means. Refining our midas is to take the midah and to use it for Hashem. That's how we're refining it. You could cook. I can say, listen, I enjoy cooking. I'll cook. I'll invite my friends over, and we'll just sit and chat, or let's have a book club, or let's whatever, But yes.
And channel to each other. You have to channel the meter. You have to go one with more anger. Happy to channel it in a way to say that.
Yes. Yes. Mature. That's what it means to mature our midas, is to use it for Hashem, 100%. Someone, I just want to, for the recording, someone who's naturally gvura, they could, or has a inclination to blood, or whatever it is. Go be a sheikhet, go be a male. Use your a nurse, a doctor. Use your.
Excellent.
Whatever.
Yes, so you have whoever you marry is the other half of your soul, because and together each one helps the other. You're two parts of the soul. There's a mission here, and there's the balance and there's the complementing each other, because there's a mission that together you're able to fulfill. Absolutely.
Now, I'm taking a course on the Eden, and she teaches that whatever your weaknesses are really your strengths.
Yes.
So if you feel that you're lacking in a midah, know that that's really your strength. We think we know our midas. Look at your weaknesses; those are really your strengths.
So interesting.
And get to work.
Wow. Wow.
To work.
So if you're lacking in discipline, it means your strength really is to be a disciplined person.
Wow.
But
how
channel, you're not saying to change, you're saying to channel what you have.
channel what you have.
And obviously
Sometimes,
balance,
so
right?
sometimes you have to change. Sometimes a person has to change their midas, and it's a lot of work. It's like uprooting a tree. It's very, very hard to change your midas, and maybe you know, yeah, a habit or a
I'm not
pattern or
saying
belief.
Change it. I'm saying you feel your strength. You don't have to
I
change.
also learned that,
You feel what's your strength.
I learned that when you're born, you come from a certain source, and the higher the source, the more challenges you're gonna have in your life, because Hashem wants to make it clear.
It's gonna be mystical.
Right, so it has to be a fair balance. So somebody who's coming from a lower source, you know, they're not, the Sahara isn't ignoring at them and good, you know? But a person coming from a higher source has.
It's not like you, there's always the other side, it's always a balance, yeah.
It's a balance.
It's always a balance.
Coming from a lower source, I'm not fighting the Sahara every 5 minutes, so. Yeah, exactly.
And then there's different areas. In one area, you could you could master some, you could feel.
But what's confusing when you say all these behaviors, we all have behaviors. So some of us got more and some of us got less. Something I'm confused when you said.
Needles are mixed up, everyone has their strength is different one. Everyone has their strength.
You're born with a high, but at the same time, you're gonna have a middle being very fearful. So you have to work on that fear and not be so scared by working in your amuna with a and the top on them. You learn to not be so scared and to try to align that to that. So yes, you don't con, big deal, right? But you still have that middle to work on your fears, to set the lack of recovery. So everyone has challenges.
We always have work to do, we're not there.
The main avodah, the main work is to work on our midas. That's the main avodah for now. Okay, so I'm just going to end off with two lessons. Two lessons that we learned from this. Number one, for those people that are like a tree, that yes, they're rooted in the ground, but they don't just stay in the ground, but rather they go out into the world. So the being in the ground, that represents our formative years. When a person's in yeshiva, when a person's in seminary, when you're a child, in your parents' house, when you have, the great Jewish education, and the inspiration, Hebrew school.
Go back and forth.
Yeah. So those are our earlier years. So a person could say, when I was way back when I was in yeshiva, I learned Torah all day. I was so connected. I was so inspired, and then now I'm already, I'm a big tall tree. And that was like, many years ago, I was in yeshiva. Many years ago, I was inspired. Many years ago, I was connected. But rather, that the lesson is that as tall as you are, you're always connected, rooted into the ground. The yeshiva experience, the inspiration, it could be, in the teaching, it's saying it like in years, but I'm saying, even you come to a class on Monday and you get the inspiration, right? Don't just say, okay, on Monday I felt inspired. Today is Wednesday, so whatever. But rather the whole week, or the whole week or the whole life, to be able to be connected to the roots, be connected to your source of life, be connected to the Torah, and say it's not just something many years ago I was inspired and I was connected. But rather, the lesson is that even if you're above the ground, you're in the world, you have to make a living, you have to deal with the physical stuff of this world, but always to be connected to your roots, always be connected to your source of life. No matter how many years it's been, or no matter when the last time you felt inspired was. Halavai, we should be like a fish. But if we're not on the level of a fish, we should be a tree and always be connected to, always feel connected now, not just once upon a time. And for the person who sits and learns Torah all day, the lesson from also, and that is, you have to know that the purpose of planting, the purpose of being a seed in the ground is not just to be a seed in the ground. The purpose of planting a seed is so that a tree should emerge from it. The purpose of learning Torah, the purpose of going to yeshiva, the purpose of immersing yourself in inspiration is not just to sit in inspiration, not just to sit in, be a fish and sit in the water, but rather that you should go out into the world, sprout, give, share, be for others. So it's a lesson for both. If you're a seed under the ground, know that your goal is to not just stay in the ground, but rather to blossom, to grow, and to be a tree. And if you're a big tree, don't just say, oh, once upon a time I was connected to my roots, but rather to always right now feel connected, not just, oh, my past, I used to be, my ancestors, my Baba, my Zayda, but rather, not that they were religious, but rather to right now always feel connected to our source and to our roots. Okay, so that's basically the class. So we had a bunch of comparisons, compare this, compare that, compare that. So then I tried to just summarize everything into one small chart, which doesn't have all the details, but at least you see everything that we're speaking about at one time. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like 5, comparisons. I'll just run through it quickly. Okay, so on one side we have the human, the seichel, which means our intellect, animals, fish. That's one category. Then we have the tree. What's unique about the tree? And then we have the midas, which is the tree, and we're going to see how that we have that in our life. Okay, so a regular human being, once they're born, the umbilical cord is cut off, the source of life is concealed. A tree doesn't conceal its true source of life. And the midas, no problem.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for coming. No problem at all. Yeah, we're done. I'm just reviewing.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm just watching. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, and the midas, it's very important to know that the midas actually reveal who we are. You want to know what's your core? You want to know what's your essence? Look at your midas and look at another person's midas if you're looking for, whatever you're looking for, for whatever purpose you're looking for someone, for something. The way to know who the person is by looking at their midas. Judging a person favorably.
Why? What challenge to be done because you can't, people's behavior.
If that's the indication of.
Legos, first of all, legos doesn't always, it manifests in behavior. It doesn't mean that everyone's behavior is their form.
This is why I'm confused.
No, because
Because when we say behavior, then
I think that
people have all types of responses or
Right, and that's
reactions or whatever.
your social that there's
Versus,
nature versus nurture. The reason they may not behaving properly or appropriately is because of their experience.
Right, doesn't mean
But
behavior is okay.
it's not who they are.
right, but if you're
not-
judging off of a behavior, maybe
So,
is media a behavior? Is media, what is media?
When you say good midas, a person has good midas, it means that they're behaving properly. That's what the Gemara said.
Yeah.
That's what the Gemara said.
Whatever, because she's saying,
The midas weren't developed properly.
Because they're straight, but their core essence, but their media is still a good media.
Someone you could look at.
They're just not living because of their.
Or their midas weren't developed.
When you don't, as a person there, you want to look at the cost, they're still looking. Right, there's people.
It's just that in this world, when it comes to the dating scene, what are it's how beautiful you look.
Understanding.
Absolutely.
Report someone's really upset. That's why you have to know the aliens, you kind of get an example. I choose anything now. It's gonna be because intuitive enough. You want to meet the person, you can send them something. The reports are not necessarily what.
Yeah,
right. When you see the person.
When the dating scene.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. I'm just going through this chart. Okay, the human, the animal, the fish has a freedom of movement. It could roam and it could travel. A tree is constantly connected to its original source of life, and the midas are an inheritance from our avos, to whom we're constantly connected. A human, seichel, animals and fish. A human emerged from the earth, but we're not glued to the ground. Adam was formed from the earth, but we're not glued to the ground. A tree emerged from the ground and is still linked to the ground. And midas are developed from our former years in yeshiva, from learning in our youth, and we are connected to us now. It should be now. Yes. Yeah, okay, I'm just finished. Okay, a human is affected by change. A tree survives all seasons and is not affected by change. And midas, refining midas guarantees that we will stay on course. And when we have good midas, and even when a person has good midas, and even if there's outside influences, they will still stay strong. And a human has or seichel of a human has multi-directional growth. A tree, his growth is limited to one direction, from immature to mature. And midas are natural, and they do mature. They are difficult to change. It's not hopeless. It's still, there is a lot of, we could change. It's hard to change. And if we can change it, at least use it at your best ability to serve Hashem. Yeah. But I'll just end up, there's another pasuk, let me see if I wrote it down. There's a pasuk. How do you know if the knowledge of Hashem? But v'yadata hayom v'ashivaisa el levavecha. Yadata hayom means that you should know Hashem. How do you know? But the knowledge of Hashem, the purpose of the knowledge is v'ashivaisa el levavecha, that it shall trickle into your heart. That is where that is how we ensure that all the Torah learning that we do, that we guarantee that it should stay forever, that we should be Arlecha Yidin. It's not just by sitting and learning, it's about taking the learning and translating it into changing our behaviors. It's murder to change our behaviors. It's true, it really is. It really is. But that's what's so phenomenal about this teaching, is that we learn that we're learning that we are using our seichel to understand that our primary avodah is to work on our midas. And why is that? Because that is really who we are. It's a reflection of who we are. It's a reflection of our soul. So therefore, that's where we want to put the effort into the midas, to be the best that we could be. Be the best we could be. You don't have to be someone else, but be the best that you could be, and be who you are. Be who you're meant to be. Follow your soul. Follow your path. Take a look at yourself. Look at your passions. Look at yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror. The feelings, the passions, the things that excite you, that motivate you. Notice, realize it's not just a feeling. This is really who you are. This is the deepest part of you. This is your core. Do I have to work on it? Yes. Do I have to use these things that I'm passionate about to serve Hashem? Yes, absolutely. Do I have to refine it? Yes. Sometimes you have to change it. Yes. But first, get to know yourself. Get to know yourself. Be real. Be real instead of.
Internal conflict is, what that confliction is what is the hard work to get over and to improve and to get.
Wow.
That is
Wow.
great work. Like I know some of my internal conflicts, and that's the work.
That's the work, yeah.
That's, you know.
Yep. I think where the passion is, whether it's positive passion or it's the negative, but what really stirs up inside of us, that really has to be defined.
Yes.
If it's like something that's passive, it's just like, then it may be not part of words. But when it's something that's really a struggle, something that's really fiery about, that's what you understand as part of this work.
You guys give examples?
Yeah, we should really give examples, 100%.
Like, I feel like there's a good word to add on is triggers. Like if something really triggers you, you know what, they're triggering you and she's flushing you, like, you wanna like kind of show your flaws. I mean, I'll speak for myself. Those are egos that are inherently yours, and to figure out how to refine that, to get to that. And it would be it's your husband, it's a couple
Right, no, that's more practical.
I'm just giving you that.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, I